The rhinos, the dark souls, maybe some election gimmicks in a few places have shut us out of Congress and out of some, emphasize some legislatures. By no means all. So, we turn to the courts as our adversaries once did. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. The 2021 term of the United States Supreme Court should have told conservatives everywhere to start using the courts. In other words, if Congress or any state legislature, county commission, or board of supervisors, or city or town council passes an unconstitutional law or ordinance, take them to court. Same for presidential, gubernatorial, county exec, or mayoral executive orders. Over the last 5 days, yet another Joe Biden executive order has lost in 2 different courts. This tells us that after Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy threw the midterms, that leaves the courts as an effective check on and rollback of items of the Democratic Party agenda that violate the Constitution. Before I start talking about this new strategy and share with you some recent victories that make it possible, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, and especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which shows a diagram of an unborn child in the womb and reads, "Not your body, not your choice." This goes to one of the victories we have achieved, and no matter what Mitch McConnell or James Carville or Ambassador Susan Rice or anybody else says, this is one victory I would never trade for all the legislative victories you could ask for. I said at the time that this was our Monte la Difensa, the mountain in the Apennines that the 1st Special Service Force captured during the Second World War. Today, I'm going to show you how to drive to Rome. One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, do you see the new icon? The heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. Now, do you happen to remember Biden's announcement of a plan to forgive up to $3 trillion in student loans? What he actually proposed was to transfer the liability from students to taxpayers. True forgiveness would have meant leaving bankers holding the bag, and even if that were constitutional, that is not what he proposed. In any case, this was a plan to buy votes, and it was flatly illegal. Biden planned to use the Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Students, or HEROES Act, to declare student loan relief in response to the national emergency regarding the virus that shall remain nameless. Now, I talked about this back in August, so I encourage you to go to my channel and search on the phrase student loan among my videos. Tell you what, I'll put it on the end screen. There I explain why it was not only bad public policy, but also why it was and is unconstitutional. Well, immediately conservative and libertarian groups started suing to make the plan go away. Judge Richard L. Young of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Indiana dismissed a suit in Indiana. Now, in fact, he declared the case moot after the Department of Education changed the conditions for application for forgiveness. But earlier, 6 states, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and now South Carolina, filed suit in a district court in St. Louis. That lawsuit has now reached the Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit, and that court has ruled 3-0 against Biden, according to The Hill. Specifically, the panel enjoined the program until further notice from either the 8th Circuit or the United States Supreme Court. Separately, the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas entered an order to suspend the program. Brown versus Department of Education, 422 CV 0908P. Link in the description. The P is for Judge Mark T. Pittman, who runs the Fort Worth Division. He ruled, and I quote, "In this country, we are not ruled by an all-powerful executive with a pen and a phone. Instead, we are ruled by a constitution that provides for 3 distinct and independent branches of government," unquote, Judge Pittman. Beautiful. Oh, did you catch that phrase, all-powerful executive with a pen and a phone? That's a direct quote of a boast by Barack Obama himself. Furthermore, Judge Pittman quoted someone else who said that no president had the power to forgive taxpayer-backed loans. Only Congress could do that. Now, guess who said that originally? No, not Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia. No, not Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio. No, not even Representative Kevin McCarthy from California. It was none other than Representative Nancy Pelosi from San Francisco, the Speaker of the House herself. And of course, who can forget the 2021 term of the United States Supreme Court? That court set 5 important governing precedents that conservative private lawyers and attorneys general can use. They are, in rough order of diminishing, though not by much, importance. Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, that at least removed constitutional protection for ending a pregnancy. Carson versus Macon, that repudiated the anti-religious amendments of James G. Blaine. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, which upheld the Second Amendment. Kennedy versus Bremerton School District, which struck down the Lemon Test. And West Virginia versus Environmental Protection Agency, which says that quasi-legislative, quasi-judicial executive agencies may not make law. I've talked before about all these cases, but especially Dobbs. You know why, and I don't want to get into that again. Here's where the discussion gets interesting. Before I continue, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. And do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You're not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting gold and silver. Now, whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides, either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, let's talk. Of all those 5 cases I named, Carson versus Macon has not seen any subsequent grant, vacate, remand action. And that's a shame. Conservative lawyers should not let this matter rest. Now, true enough, I am not a lawyer, but I did learn formal logic. And logically, Carson should invalidate every Blaine amendment to any state constitution. I recommend that Alliance Defending Freedom and similar religious freedom advocacy groups use Carson to batter down these amendments. If the gates of hell cannot prevail against the church, surely Blaine amendments cannot prevail against Carson. And along with that, the Kennedy case tells us that teachers can mention religion in school if they please. In my day, in fact, my teachers at a public school in Berks County, Pennsylvania in the middle 60s did indeed talk religion, and nobody questioned it, at least not where I New York State has tried at least twice to reinstate the over-century-old gun control regime that the Bruen case struck down. And each time a federal court has struck down New York. Sorry, Governor Hochul, you might have won re-election, but your re-election didn't come with any license to trample on the Second Amendment or any other part of the Constitution. Now, as to Dobbs, the president proposed before midterms to introduce a bill to codify pregnancy ending on demand until birth. Now he says he lacks the votes. Mike Vance at Daily Political Newswire quotes his rambling renege, and I'm going to quote it right now, or at least the best part of it. I don't think there's enough votes to codify it unless something happens unusual in the House. Close, unquote, President Biden. I have a link in the description, a video of Biden saying, sorry, can't do it. Play it for yourselves. All this suggests that the movement to make America great again has ignored the role of political advocacy law. For decades, leftists used this kind of law to achieve judicially what they could not achieve legislatively. The new judges that Donald Trump put in place will likely use their powers to abolish and restrain, not mandate. And that's what the Supreme Court did in its 2021 term. This court abolished the regime forbidding states to curtail pregnancy termination. Not even ordinary considerations of medical safety withstood the Roe regime. This court abolished a century-old regime in New York State, essentially forbidding all but the well-connected even to own firearms. And this court abolished the idea that all government programs shall assume that religion is a fraud, and therefore no program should ever support any religious institution or any person desiring to patronize the same. The 2021 court also restrained quasi-legislative and quasi-judicial executive agencies that think they can make law. Looking ahead, the Supreme Court has already heard argument on reverse discrimination against anyone who qualifies for admission to university by dint of hard work just because some leftist constituent group needs the slots. Now, I've talked about that too. Having said that, conservative lawyers have room to ask the courts to restrain the government's proposed regimes to start school at the age of 3 to prevent the inculcation of religious values. In fact, I have a link in the description to a tweet talking about Biden proposing just that, and recruit small children for experimental transformation. But one argument will prove most difficult to advance: a right to life. Someone has already tried to get that before the Supreme Court, and even Amy Coney Barrett has said no. But as I say further on, don't give up. Clarence Thomas is there, and he's famous for working on his fellow justices. He'll work on her too, and Brett Kavanaugh. Sam Alito is already firmly with the program. Just saying. The legislative landscape in America today is something else again. We have constitutionalist legislatures in some, but not all, states, and an anti-constitutionalist Congress. Worse yet, we have a nominal president and vice president who act as if they are all-powerful executives who govern with a pen and a phone. Again, just like Barack Obama. But we now have a Supreme Court with 5 definite constitutionalist members. They are Samuel A. Alito, Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and the inimitable Clarence Thomas. In addition, Donald Trump will place 30% of the federal appellate bench and a comparable portion of the trial bench. The 2021 term and the 2 student loan cases show that judicial advocacy can now work for conservatives, if conservatives work at it. And that is where conservatives must work from now on. I have links in the description to the home pages of 3 constitutionalist organizations, most of whom will take your case totally pro bono. They ask for donations so that they can do that. With whom I want to encourage various red state attorneys general to work. They are the American Center for Law and Justice, Alliance Defending Freedom, and Judicial Watch. I recommend that these organizations and these attorneys general get together and set some definite goals for reversing bad precedent and restraining the evil coming from this White House, and definitely the Senate, maybe the House of Representatives. It's up in the air. Remember this also, never give up. Those rulings restraining the White House from its student loan transfer program came after at least one unfavorable ruling. The Monte la Defensa, that was Roe versus Wade, took nearly half a century to fall. So lawyers must keep filing and keep filing until a judge with a conscience rules for the Constitution. Link in the description of the article, to the order in Brown versus DOE, to the tweet with a video of Joe Biden giving up on making pregnancy ending the law of the land, to the other tweet quoting Biden and wanting to start school, not daycare, but school, his words, at the age of 3, to those 3 legal aid societies I mentioned, to my Declaration of Truth Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. And on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel. I'll link to that student loan video and to 2 other videos about the recently concluded term of the Supreme Court. This is Terry A. Hurlbut, delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.